नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने और नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण. Today we are going to discuss the verse Bhagavad-Gita 10.13, Bhagavad-Gita chapter 10 verse 13. So 12 and 13 together. So I will read the verse synonyms, translation and purport. अर्जुन उवाच परं ब्रह्म परं धाम पवित्रं परमं भवान् पुरुषं शाश्वतं दिव्यम् आदिदेवमजं विभुम् आहुस्त्वां ऋषयः सर्वे देवर्षिर्नारदस्तथा असितो देवलो व्यासः स्वयं चैव ब्रवीषि मे. Synonyms. Arjuna uvacha, Arjuna said, Param, supreme, Brahma, truth, Param, supreme, Dhama, sustenance, Pavitram, pure, Paramam, supreme, Bhavan, you, Purusham, personality, Shashvatam, eternal, Divyam, transcendental, Adidevam, the original Lord, Ajam, unborn, Vibhum, greatest, Ahu, say, Tvam, of you, Rishayah, sages, Sarve, all, Devarshihi, the sage among the demigods, Naradaha, Narada, Tatha, also, Asitaha, Asita, Devalaha, Devala, Vyasaha, Vyasa, Swayam, personality, Cha, also, Eva, certainly, Bravishi, you are explaining, me, unto me. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Arjuna said, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are eternal, transcendental, original position, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages such as Narada, Asita, Devala and Vyasa confirm this truth about you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me. Purport. In these two verses, the Supreme Lord gives a chance to the Mayavadi philosopher. For here it is clear that the Supreme is different from the individual soul. Arjuna, after hearing the essential 4 verses of the Bhagavad-Gita in this chapter, became completely free from all doubts and accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He at once boldly declares, you are Param Brahma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And previously Krishna stated that he is the originator of everything and everyone. Every demigod and every human being is dependent on him. Men and demigods, out of ignorance, think that they are absolute and independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That ignorance is removed perfectly by the discharge of devotional service. This has already been explained in the previous verse by the Lord. Now, by His grace, Arjuna is accepting him as the supreme truth in concordance with the Vedic injunction. It is not that because Krishna is Arjuna's intimate friend, Arjuna is flattering him by calling him the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth. Whatever Arjuna says in these 2 verses is confirmed by the Vedic truth. Vedic injunctions affirm that only one who takes to devotional service to the Supreme Lord can understand him, whereas others cannot. Each and every word of this verse spoken by Arjuna is confirmed by Vedic injunction. In the Kena Upanishad, it is stated that the Supreme Brahman is the rest for everything, and Krishna has already explained that everything is resting on him. The Mundaka Upanishad confirms that the Supreme Lord, in whom everything is resting, can be realized only by those who constantly engage constantly in thinking of him. This constant thinking of Krishna is Smaranam, one of the methods of devotional service. It is only by devotional service to Krishna that one can understand his position and get rid of this material body. In the Vedas, the Supreme Lord is accepted as the purest of the pure. One who understands that Krishna is the purest of the pure can become purified from all sinful activities. One cannot be disinfected from sinful activities unless he surrenders unto the Supreme Lord. Arjuna's acceptance of Krishna as the Supreme Pure complies with the injunctions of Vedic literature. This is also confirmed by great personalities, of whom Narada is the chief. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and one should always meditate upon him and enjoy one's transcendental relationship with him. He is the supreme existence. He is free from bodily needs, birth and death. Not only does Arjuna confirm this, but all the Vedic literatures, the Puranas and histories. In all Vedic literatures, Krishna is thus described, and the Supreme Lord himself also says in the 4th chapter, although I am unborn, I appear on this earth to re-establish religious principles. He is the supreme origin. He has no cause, for he is the cause of all causes, and everything is emanating from him. This perfect knowledge can be had by the grace of the Supreme Lord. Here Arjuna expresses himself through the grace of Krishna. If we want to understand Bhagavad-Gita, we should accept the statements from these 2 verses. This is called the Parampara system, acceptance of the disciplic succession. Unless one is in the disciplic succession, he cannot understand Bhagavad-Gita. It is not possible by so-called academic education. Unfortunately, those who are proud of their education, despite so much evidence in the Vedic literatures, stick to their obstinate conviction that Krishna is an ordinary person. So, now this verse that we are reading in the Bhagavad-Gita 10.12 and 13, this is a part of the 10th chapter, which is the essence of the Bhagavad-Gita. So Bhagavad-Gita, it can be compared to a sandwich, where the top bread is chapters 13 to 18 or Jnana Yoga, and the bread at the bottom is the chapters 1 to 6, which is Karma Yoga, and in the middle are 6 chapters which are from 7 to 12, and this part is called Bhakti Yoga, which is the essence and is between is in the right in the between of the Bhagavad Gita. And out of this essence, the chapters 7 to 12, right in the middle are 2 chapters which are the 9th and 10th one. So the 9th and 10th one are the essence, where the Supreme Lord here in the last verse of the 9th chapter, he is saying that Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto Madhya Jimam Namaskuru Mame Vaishyasi Yuktvaimam Atmanam Madparayanaham. Engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, you will surely come to me. This is what Krishna says in this last verse of the Gita. And now Arjuna, although he is not a person who cannot remember Krishna, he is a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he can remember him, but out of compassion for us who are the fallen souls in this material world, he is thinking that in this material world, especially in the Kali Yuga, which will come in the future, Arjuna thinks that it will be very difficult to remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead amidst all our duties and activities, and also we are more attracted by Maya, where we tend to fall down from this process and get into materialistic enjoyment. So how can we remember the Supreme Lord always? Arjuna thinks like that for the out of his compassion for us who are the fallen conditioned souls of this material world. And then here Krishna understands that Arjuna is thinking like this. So therefore, without Arjuna asking, he says in the first verse that, listen again, O mighty armed Arjuna, Bhuya eva mahabaho shrudu me paramam vachaha. Again listen to my words which I am delivering to you, because you are my very dear friend. And he also says that this knowledge that I am giving you is better than the knowledge that I have given you previously. So here this part of the Bhagavad Gita is called Swa Mahima Varnan, where in this chapter, especially in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna elaborately explains his entire opulences. And in the ending, he says that these are all just but a part of my opulence. My opulence is unlimited. And there is... he says that Nantosti mama divyanam vibhutinam parantapa esha tuddeshatah proktaha vibhuter vistaromaya. That, O mighty conqueror of enemies, there is no end to my divine manifestations. What I have spoken to you is but a mere indication of my infinite opulences. So Krishna explains all this, and in between in the first maybe like 11 verses of the Bhagavad Gita, we have already discussed the Chatushloki, that is from Bhagavad Gita 10.8 to 11, and before that also Krishna explains about his glories. So now here Arjuna is confirming, we are coming to this verse where Arjuna is saying that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is glorifying him as the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. The Supreme Lord is eternal, transcendental, original position, the unborn, the greatest. All of these are confirmed by the great sages such as Narada, Asita, Devala, Vyasa, and many other people who are from the bona fide parampara. So this glorification here that Arjuna is offering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this glorification here that Arjuna is offering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be somewhat likened to the glorification that Vyasadeva is offering at the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, where all this that Arjuna is saying has already been said in different words by Lord Vyasadeva here. So this verse is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadhyasya Yaton Vayaditaratas Charthesh Vabhijñaswarat Tene Brahmaridaya Adikavaye Muhyanti Yatsurayah Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Mrisha Dhamna Svena Sada Nirashta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi. This is what Vyasadeva is saying here, and he is saying that O my Lord Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primal cause of all causes of the creation, sustenance and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes, temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature, appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. So here Arjuna is saying that all this has already been confirmed by the other great sages such as Vyasadeva, Asita, Devala, Narada, and as we have already seen here in this first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.1, the similar kind of description has been offered here also to glorify the Supreme Lord by Vyasadeva. And here Arjuna is saying that now Krishna himself is declaring it to me, and here in these verses, in this verse here it has been said that whatever Arjuna says in these two verses is confirmed by the Vedic truth, and Vedic truth, it has been confirmed by the Vedic truth because this Vedic truth is coming from the disciplic succession, and Arjuna is expressing himself here through the grace of Krishna. Here Srila Prabhupada is also mentioning that if we want to understand Bhagavad Gita, we should accept the statements in these two verses. This is called the parampara system, acceptance of the disciplic succession. Unless one is in the one is in the disciplic succession, he cannot understand Bhagavad Gita. It is not possible by so-called academic education. Unfortunately, those who are proud of their academic education, despite so much evidence in the Vedic literature, stick to their obstinate conviction that Krishna is an ordinary person. Here, mainly this system, the taking shelter of the parampara system is being described here, that how this succession has been coming down the spiritual master is giving this this science to his disciple, who is again giving it to his disciple, who is giving it to his disciple. Like this chain is going down, and it ends with Srila Prabhupada, who has given this knowledge to all of us. So if we want to understand this Bhagavad Gita properly, we should stick to the parampara system, because one of the properties of the parampara system is that it can bestow pure love of the Supreme Lord. This property is possessed only by the parampara only. The instructions given by the parampara, by the authorized bona fide guru who is from this disciplic succession, only these instructions can bestow love of Godhead. And if we hear from people otherwise, then instead of becoming submissive and having devotional feelings towards the Supreme Lord, we will become inimical towards Him. And we will get the wrong understanding, the wrong interpretation of the thing if we hear from a person who is not a Vaishnava. So sarpochistam yathapayah, it is like as if the milk has been touched by the lips of the serpent. Sarpochistam yathapayah, so such a milk should not be drunk. Similarly, the Harikatha, which is being spoken from the lips of a non-Vaishnava, it is like milk mixed with the poison of a serpent, which is not to be consumed. And this Harikatha is not to be heard or not to be fed into the mind. And thus this is like here also Prabhupada is mentioning one thing: it is not possible by so-called academic education and these kind of materialistic qualifications like money, strength, wealth, manpower, fame, etc. These will not help in any way in understanding the Supreme Lord. So this Bhagavad Gita, or this instruction that the Supreme Lord is giving, is like a bottle of honey. And here this bottle of honey has this very sweet honey of the nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam and the Supreme Lord and Bhagavad Gita, which Krishna is himself speaking. And these academic academic education, by riches, by becoming expert in quoting shlokas, by just reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, by hearing it over and over again, because out of false pride of these materialistic qualifications, these things will not help. By this, one will be successful from licking the bottle of honey from outside, but he will not be able to taste the inside honey unless he has taken shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, and he has become submissive to hear the instruction properly. Otherwise he will not be able to get the proper taste. He will not be able to taste the honey. By this materialistic qualifications, one will be successful in making Srimad Bhagavatam accessible to himself, reading it, etc. But if one is not submissive, if one doesn't want to take shelter of a parampara, authorized parampara, that okay, I cannot understand this thing myself, I have to take shelter of a bona fide guru, and I am a person whose intelligence is very small compared to the Supreme Lord, so I cannot glorify him. So such a person, only he can understand the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, the person who we spoke about earlier, he has all the materialistic qualifications, but he is successful from licking the bottle of honey from outside only. Otherwise he cannot lick the taste the honey from inside. That is the mistake that he is making, where he is supposed to become submissive and take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So and here it also, those who are proud of their academic education, despite so much evidence in Vedic literatures, they stick to their obstinate conviction that Krishna is an ordinary person. Avajananti mamuda manushrim tanumashritam param bhavam ajanantam mama bhuta maheshwaram. They have not surrendered. They have not become humble as yet. They haven't become submissive, and thus they are still covered by the curtain of Maya. And avajananti mamuda manushim tanumashritam. They still think that Krishna is an ordinary person. They deride him with their descent in the human form. Who are they? The atheists, basically. So here Prabhupada is mentioning that only Arjuna also does not confirm this. This thing has been confirmed by other great personalities who are like Narada, Vyasa, Asita, Devala, etc. etc. And here this science can be in the Kena Upanishad it is stated that the Supreme Brahman is the rest for everything. The Supreme Personality of Godhead says that Mattaha Parataram Nanyat Kinchit Asti Dhananjaya, that I Mai Sarvaidam Protam Sutre Manigana Eva, just like the pearls are strung on a thread. Similarly, the entire world, whatever the spiritual and the material creation, everything that is there is just resting upon me. That is what the Supreme Personality of Godhead is saying in this verse. This verse is in the 7th chapter of the Gita, and this Supreme Personality of Godhead can be realized only by those who constantly engage in thinking of Him. This constant thinking of Krishna is Smaranam, one of the methods of devotional service. It is only by devotional service to Krishna that one can understand this position and get rid of this material body. And in the Vedas, the Supreme Lord is accepted as the purest of the pure. One who understands that Krishna is the purest of the pure can become purified from all sinful activities. One cannot be disinfected from sinful activities unless he surrenders unto the Supreme Lord. This is one very important thing that is being mentioned, that one has to surrender. Then one can become submissive. Then one can lick the bottle of honey. Then one can understand what to do. Lick the bottle of honey meaning actually taste the honey, not licking the bottle from outside. So this has also been confirmed by great personalities, of whom Narada is the chief. This has been very elaborately mentioned here. So the main end point of this verse is that we should all try to take shelter of a parampara and then try to understand what Arjuna is saying, because what Arjuna is saying is a very high subject matter, and actually nobody can glorify this this subject matter to the extent that it goes, and how great and vast it is. So to understand whatever bit we can, we should try to take shelter from the parampara. And this all things that Arjuna is saying has already been confirmed by other great sages like Narada, Asita, Devala, Vyasa, etc. Previously, and now Arjuna himself is just saying it because he is repeating Krishna's words, what Krishna told him. So again, one should not be puffed up of his materialistic qualifications, and these things like sloka memorization and reading, everything can just help to lick the bottle of honey from outside. One cannot understand anything if one is not submissive and he does not take shelter, because this subject matter is like that. It is very high. So one should take shelter of the personality of Godhead and his devotees and the parampara which is there. Then one can actually lick the bottle of honey. He can taste that sweet honey which is there, and then he can become freed from all sins. He can actually achieve something tangible in this process of devotional service, and then he can carve his pathway back to Godhead. So this is the end of the explanation on Bhagavad-Gita Sloka 10.12 to 13. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.